tendency to put things behind, or kind of like almost be okay with them taking longer. So what I mean by that, maybe you have a project, you need to focus on it, you need to work on it, but putting it on some back burner, I'll do it later. There is a tendency to start doing that. Regulations. Now, as we're leading up to the period, we already heard about interest rates, and this is one of the things I actually want to share my screen for just a little tiny bit. And we're going to talk about data and astrology in a really quick, rapid fire way. So what I'm doing right now behind the scenes, and this is going to be released most likely after the Mercury retrograde is done, but I've put in some interesting data with astrology, and this is the Fed, the governing organ in the United States that controls the interest rates. And you can see on this graph of mine, upside is basically interest rates going higher, meaning lending becoming expensive. If you have loans, mortgages, you have to pay more for these. And remember, guys, whenever the Fed does something, usually the ECB, the European Central Bank, they start to do things, and other people start to do things. So Fed is kind of like the wayshower, usually. So what we're seeing is a hike here, 2022, and it's important to understand one of the biggest reasons, and I will reveal it in the full product. But one of the biggest thing here that we're seeing is the South Node and the North Node. And when the North Node is in Taurus, and when the South Node is Scorpio, we are seeing interest rate hikes. Remember that, and remember, guys, how long North Node is going to be in Taurus and South Node is going to be in Scorpio. So right now, what is coming. So don't let it hit you in the face. Be prepared, and yeah, Godspeed with that, making those decisions, basically. Now, what did I want to say about this? Yeah, so the regulations happening right now, we are seeing those, and again, during the retrograde itself, guys, what is happening, what I've experienced, I will give you the mic in a second, Tony, but what I've experienced is it's almost like during the retrograde, these regulations are prepared. These things are worked on behind the scenes. It's like nobody knows what is happening, and then boom, the retrograde ends, and it's like hitting news after news after new regulation, or interest rates higher. And I just wanted to kind of warn you with these matters that there's a very big potential. News is already out that that they're raising them. They might even do it even more, considering everything. You saw the hike, guys. You saw the hike on the graph. It's quite insane. It doesn't look healthy at all. And supply line problems. Again, we're talking about things right now that are happening. But during the retrograde, we can even forget about these things. During the summer, more food has been grown. For a moment, the supply is there. But again, come autumn, problems, Uranus and Saturn again in a square. So don't allow yourself to be fooled right now during this period into that everything is fine. Oh, everything is returning back to normal. I will tell you right now, I'm looking at so much astrology. There is no normal. There's no freaking normal in it. No freaking way. It's not possible. Okay, I mentioned these. What? Just want to get everything. Okay, I'll let you, Donnie. You wanted to say something. I'll look.
Oh yeah, I mean, the thing is that piggybacking on the interest rate thing that you've just mentioned regarding the graph, this actually ties into this picture that we are getting for probably the first 2 to 3 weeks of June, and that's because there's an extended square between Mercury and Saturn. One is stationing to go direct, one is stationing to go retrograde. And they are within like that 1 to 2 degrees square for most of June. And this can be like a lot of things being set in place to actually raise the interest rate collectively. Because since the South Node is in the sign of borrowing from another, which is Scorpio, yeah, this is not looking too good. But I think we can use this June period to really analyze what we want, what we don't want in our lives, and just trim our spending accordingly. Because I feel that over this current Mercury retrograde that's been tumultuous since last month, I guess we are all like in some way, shape or form being pushed out of our comfort zones and needing to do something about things. And this extended square of Mercury stationing direct, I think it happens on the 3rd of June. And less than 24 hours later, Saturn was stationed to go retrograde. But that is while Mercury is also making an I call it enchanting aspect, which is that sextile to Neptune, with Mercury also forming a trine to Pluto as well. So a lot of things going on pertaining to all these things, which I'll get on to talk about what this can mean. But let's talk about that square first between Saturn and Mercury in within the first week of the month. We just need to be more disciplined and really envisioned what we can live without right now in order to benefit later on in life. So maybe like what Ian mentioned about taking that holiday, spending that money, traveling in Europe or other continents, because it is very tempting to go and have fun and all that. But if you spend that X amount of money in that time span, this means that you have less when autumn and winter hits in Europe, and also, you know, the Americas later in the year. And so it's about having that economy of how to stretch your dollar a bit further, rather than just kind of like be on a happy-go-lucky spending spree. Although it's very tempting with that Mercury sextile sextile Neptune, we may be in this like, you know, like little trance of our own. But when I think about Mercury aspecting Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto concurrently, when Mercury stations direct, this can be also a very inspirational time to kind of think, to have that vision of what kind of life you want for yourself for the future. And that's on a collective level, because Neptune and Pluto are transpersonal planets. And I just like to mention also that we probably have heard of monkeypox. That's been coming up a lot for the past few weeks at least. I think it actually happened when Mercury was going to station to go retrograde. And by the way, monkey is Gemini and Mercury. And pox, the word itself, pox, is linked to Jupiter and Neptune. And because the way the pox appear is usually related to the sign of Aries, because the bump actually comes out. It's very like inflammatory in terms of the body's response. And so you can see how this Mercury retrograde tied to Neptune right now is Jupiter. And then we've got all this news from established news and social media platforms. That's very much about Saturn in Aquarius energy. That's going to form a square with that Mercury. Not to mention that there may be explosive paranoia in the form of news. And this will actually perpetuate, I would say, confidently, that until Mercury clears its last sextile with Jupiter, then it may just kind of die down a little bit. But that means what I'm trying to say is that for the first half of June, we may be hearing a lot of like hype and spin pertaining to such things. So I would say this coincidence is uncanny, but you know, as above, so below. What I want to also mention that there's something regarding delusion.